Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about the feasibility of putting an LPVO on a 9mm AR. Okay, so this is the Palmetto PX9, and what I have on here is the primary arms 1 to 8 ACSS. Okay, this is the original ACSS that Primary Arms put out. I think I got this something like 5-6 years ago. But at this point, I've upgraded, right? I've bought other optics that have like range estimating tools in it, right? Like mill lines, and better ways to size people. So what I do with one of my old LPVOs, right? What I did is I put it on this 9mm AR. So you might say, well, what's the point of putting it? I mean, you can't really shoot distance. But here's the thing. When I'm shooting 9mm, that's when I really get a chance to make use of the bullet drop compensator, right? Because normally, if I've got this on a 5.56 rifle, right? Remember, from zero distance out to 200 yards, you know, basically you put your chevron or your dot or whatever you're looking at on target. You're either 4 inches high, 4 inches low. So there's no need to use the bullet drop compensator until you get out to about 300 yards, right? So you gotta get to a location where you're shooting, you know, 300 to 600 yards in order to really take advantage of the bullet drop that's in the LPVO. What the 9mm does is it gives me an opportunity to practice using the bullet drop at much closer distances. So here I'm at a location where basically I have 200 yards to shoot at. So with I think I have a 20-yard zero on this. First zero's at 20 yards. Second zero's at 75 yards. Okay. So at 100 yards, I'm already using like the inside of the chevron to put it on target. Okay. That's at 100 yards. At 145 yards, I'm using the 400-yard mark. Okay, so if this was a 5.56, I'm using the line that says 4 for 400. Okay, when I'm shooting 200 yards, I'm using the 600-yard mark. Okay, when I'm shooting like 250 yards, I'm using the 800-yard mark. So you know, using this LPVO on the 9mm really gives me a chance to practice some things on a 200-yard range that I would otherwise have to try and get out to like a 600-700-yard range to practice. Okay, so the way I'm doing it today, I'm basically shooting off of this barrel, right? Right now I'm going to be shooting at 145 yards, so I'm using the 400-yard mark in this LPVO, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the bipod, okay, and I'm going to wrap my arm around the sling to try and stabilize myself on the barrel, right? Because I'm basically going to be in a squatting position, because if I go to a kneeling position, I'm a little too low. If I go to a standing position, I'm just way too high. So I'm going to be in kind of like in a squatting position, which can be a little difficult to try and hold, you know, your reticle steady on the target. So that's why I'm going to take advantage of the sling, try to pull this into my chest, try to stabilize the gun. Okay, so let's try out 145 yards using the 400-yard mark on this, right? So you're paying attention to the ding, so you're going to hear ding when I hear the target. Okay, so let's do this. All right, so what I did there is I switched to a close target, zoomed down to 1 power, took that out. Now we're back to the distance again. So this is a fun exercise, you know, adds another dimension to your training, right? Allows you to do stuff, you know, on a 200 range that you normally have to get to like a 600 yard range to practice, right? So I'm using the bullet. I got a bullet drop compensator in this primary arms 1 to 8 that goes all the way to 800 yards. But normally, if I'm using a 5.56, you know, unless I'm using like a match grade bullet, I'm not going to be able to take that out to 800 yards. You know, I've tried it, haven't had much luck with it. I've been able to get as far as 550 yards. So anyway, a fun exercise, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of this possibility, right? You can take one of your older LPVOs that's now maybe a little out of date because you've got more upgraded stuff on it that, you know, has measuring tools like mill lines, and put that on your 9mm AR, okay? And if it's got a bullet drop compensator, it will allow you to shoot your 9mm out to, you know, 200 yards and even 250 yards. I've had this out to 300 yards. That's as far as I've been able to get with this 9mm AR. I don't remember exactly what the group, I mean, basically I was getting a pretty wide group, but I have been able to successfully take the 9mm AR out to 300 yards. However, again, very, you know, depending on what the wind's doing that day. I went one day where I was getting good hits. I went another day, it was a little bit more windy. I couldn't get anything to land on target. So it's definitely a challenge if you're gonna go out to that distance. But 200 yards, no problem. The target I'm shooting over there right now is 2 foot tall by 1 foot wide. So it's not like an enormous target, you know, 2 foot by 1 foot. So I find it to be a very decent challenge. Very easy at the 145 yards where I'm shooting this right now. And I'm just using Tula ammo, cheap Tula ammo. Not using any match grade stuff or anything. I just cheap Tula, 145 yards, easy. When I get to the 200 yards, it becomes more of a challenge, but I can usually get good hits. Okay, maybe 60% hits. You know, that's usually where I come in. Again, that's on the 2 foot by 1 foot target. If I'm gonna go past that, like the 300 yards, then yeah, usually I need a much bigger target. I usually use, because you can't hear, it's hard to hear the dings at that distance, depending on what the wind is doing. So I will usually use a large paper target, you know, that's about a man-sized paper target to help me identify where my bullets are landing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will talk to y'all soon.